Thanks for choosing the SBP podcast, the voice of mobile film. I'm your host, Susie Botello, and this is episode 19. So we're really excited about this episode because we're going to take you to Silicon Valley of Africa, Nigeria, actually. And we're going to speak to the director of UR for Africa. Her name is Shola Ajayi. And she's doing amazing things with students and young people, teaching and inspiring them with mobile filmmaking. Things are coming together for the International Mobile Film Festival taking place on April 28th and 29th in San Diego. The film festival screens films shot with mobile phones on a big screen. It has a Q&A panel, a red carpet show, an awards ceremony. But what really gets me excited is the filmmakers from prior film festivals coming to meet filmmakers from this year's film festival. Think about a community of mobile filmmakers and people who support them coming together to celebrate it in person. Like, how cool is that? Everyone networking is great and a part of any great film festival experience for sure. But because we all have a phone, or at least we all have access to a phone with a camera, the attendees, they come and they meet the filmmakers and they realize, hey, I can do this too. I have what I need to make a film in my hand right now. I already have that. All I need is a good story and my imagination. All I need to do is just get creative, and with a little knowledge, a little experience, some practice, I can be here next year as a participant. I can be a star filmmaker too. So that's actually what really excites me, you guys, that our film festival inspires everyone of all ages to share stories through film. Anyways, go to our website and check out our sponsors and click on the MFF page. You can do that from the menu, and you can get all the details. You can get the times, the location. You can get all kinds of information in there. Don't miss this awesome event. I can almost hear most of you right now just asking the big question, right? Where can I get tickets? All right, so tickets are going to be on sale soon. Tickets are going to be limited because our space is, we're not Comic-Con. But as soon as they go on sale, you'll want to grab them. If you subscribe to our Patreon page, one of the benefits is that you will get a discounted ticket. Well, actually, you'll get more than one. You'll get a great big discount on getting those tickets, and you'll also be the first to buy them because our patrons are going to be getting the tickets. I think that's called like pre-sale access to our tickets. I'll just call it that. Makes sense, right? Anyway, go to our website, www.internationalmobilefilmfestival.com, and click on the button. It says something like subscribe or become a patron. Or you can go to our Patreon page, actually. Go to Patreon, patreon.com/SBP podcast. Okay, so you know what? I'm ready to go to Africa. Are you ready? Let's go and let's talk to Shola Ajayi. Everybody, welcome to the SBP podcast. We are in Africa. Well, our guest is in Africa. We're in San Diego. I'd like to introduce you, I should say, to Shola Ajayi from Nigeria. Shola, how are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Susan.
Hi. Shola is representing, she's the director of the UR for Africa organization, which is also a tag, and it's spelled UR the number 4 Africa.
Yep.
Is it .com or .org or I forgot?
It's .com. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
.com.
All right. So, what I wanted to do first for listeners is share a little bit about the location where you are. Tell everybody where you are and what's really unique about the area where you are, and because the area. Well, go ahead and tell everybody. I mean, you know
Yeah.
where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm located in Lagos, Nigeria. And Nigeria is on the west coast of Africa. Most people have probably heard of Nigeria because of things like Boko Haram, or the Niger Delta crisis with the oil region, and because of our political situation. But Nigeria is a beautiful country. It has tons of potential. It's considered one of the largest emerging markets in Africa. There's tons of stuff happening here. We have Nollywood, which is like number 3, the third biggest industry in filmmaking in the world after Bollywood. We have a tech industry that's really taking off here. So there's tons of really great things about Nigeria that people don't hear about. Yeah, it's a great country, and there's tons of potential here.
Please let introduce me to who Shola is.
Yeah, my name is Shola Ajayi. My full name is Uluwabusola Margaret Ajayi.
Okay,
I
that
moved
would
back.
be a tough one for me. I
Yeah,
was doing all right until you said that.
yes. I really just try and keep it short and sweet, So people call me Shola, but it was my nickname would probably be Busola, But it's
Busola.
just one of the changes that were made when I first moved to the United States, so that my teachers had an easier time saying my name.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah, that happens here a
Yeah.
lot.
Yes. Um, I moved back to Lagos about 5 years ago now. Wow. And I basically got into what I do because of my family. My parents were really big movie buffs. One of the first movies I saw was a Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It had a huge impact on me. And then also the work that I do, or I was doing in New York, I was working with youths and people of color and various communities in the U.S. and, basically teaching people how to tell their own stories with my work at Parsons and youth organizations. And that kind of inspired me to be the person that I am today.
That's pretty.
That's
That's
what
a
it's about
pretty
me.
interesting story, actually.
Yeah.
And then what brought you? So what made you actually go all the way across the ocean like that? To go there and bring your history and your experience and everything there
Yeah, to Nigeria or to the United States.
to Nigeria. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, one of the big things was I had always planned to move back to Lagos. I think one of the biggest trips that had an impact on me was moving back to Lagos after college. Before that, I had just been visiting. My father was working out here, and we
Oh,
would go. My siblings and I would be, visiting him. Like he wanted us to know our culture more. He wanted us to know the country more. So we would visit every summer. We would stay for extended summers. Sometimes we would miss the beginning of the school year back in the States. But after college, I moved back to Nigeria for a year. And I hated it the first few months. I was so miserable.
why?
Yeah, just because there were so many things that I wasn't used to. You know what I mean? Like was such a huge power issue. You know what I mean? The poverty was a big shock to me. And it's not that I hadn't seen people that were poor in the States. It's just that I hadn't seen people that weren't doing anything about it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was tough for me. But it's just really crazy, Susan, because one day I just woke up and everything looked different to me. everything looked different, everything smelled different. You know what I mean? I had this like this sense of, you know, this was like no man's land, you know what I mean? And like, you know, I could either keep complaining about what I was seeing or I could do something about it. So I decided that I was going to film school. Um, and I started applying, and everything kind of took off from there. I got into a good program, and then I went to film school, and my focus was to tell these amazing stories about Nigeria, stories that people hadn't seen, you know, or heard about, you know, concerning my country and specifically my community.
Yeah, because especially here, I mean, most people they want to hear about Europe, they want to hear about France and
Right.
Italy and these countries, and they don't even want to look. They don't want to open the door to something that just seems really far fetched to them.
Right, exactly. And like, and it's not, I think it's also like an exposure thing. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone has really thought about all the amazing stories that come out of this, not just this country, but this continent. You know what I mean? Especially
Right.
because there's always the focus on poverty and HIV and wars. You know what I mean? And very few people get to hear the story about, you know, the young, there's three young women that like figured out how to make a generator work with urine. You know what I mean? Like no one hears those stories, you know, and it's especially like being empowered enough to come up with finding a solution to a power issue with something like that, you know, especially when someone tells you that you can't. So there's a lot of stories here that people aren't hearing, and I really wanted to focus in on those stories.
That is pretty amazing. So so
Yeah.
then so then you went to film school and then you
Yep.
went back over there and then what happened?
Yeah. So basically, I went to film school, and I came out here to shoot, you know, a film that I had written, in addition to my thesis film. And this is kind of like where You Are for Africa kind of came to fruition. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I came back to Nigeria with some film students from Boston University and some friends of mine from Florida, you know, because that's where I went for undergrad. And they came out here to help me shoot a film. And Nigerians that were living in Nigeria at the time also helped me with these films. And it's just amazing how many people came together, how many companies came together to make sure that the films got done.
Wow.
Um, and there's a local station here that's called African Independent Television, and they really supported the production of our project so much, you know, to the point where they like screen it on television, you know, so that people could see it. And it was huge. It was such a big deal, and also really inspiring to see how community members and young people were kind of rallying around the project.
What was it, do you think, that motivated them to be so open and so accepting and supportive of that?
I mean, I think one of the big things about storytelling is that everyone has this desire to want to tell their story, right?
Yeah.
But people don't necessarily have the tools or the resources to do it. And what was great about our project is that we did it very minimally. You know what I mean? We didn't, you know, get the most expensive equipment. You know, we didn't get the most expensive lights. You know, I mean, we were living in an environment where power was, you know, inconsistent and so on and so forth. So we shot on video, even though it was encouraged for us to shoot on film. Um, and, you know, people wanted to be a part of something. You know what I mean? That's essentially one of the big things, is that people actually have this spirit of collaboration. But there's very few opportunities or very few platforms to collaborate.
So
You know, so
they're
like
like
when they saw the,
thirsty, huh? Thirsty for something
yes,
that's
exactly.
inspiring or,
Hmm. Yeah,
amazing.
totally. Yeah, that's exactly it. So the young people were like so excited about it. They were involved. They wanted to know how to use the cameras. You know, they were like, why are you guys seeing action? You know, so they wanted to know about the terms and the various positions in a production. And that's basically what inspired You Are for Africa. You know what I mean? Like all these amazing people are the reason that we even exist, or even why we decided to continue on with it, because it could have just ended up being a thesis project. And it ended up being more.
Wow. Well, because it's fate. I mean,
Yeah.
your whole story, I mean, from your background, how you grew up and everything, and then what brought you there, it's like, from my end, listening to it, it's like watching a movie where you're seeing something develop and you're going, well, of course, that's what it's
Yeah.
about, you know?
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
and obviously
inspiring.
the people around you, of course, it was storytelling, and storytelling is a big deal.
Hmm.
Culturally, all
Yes.
different cultures have,
Mhm.
but even here, different cultures and just plain no culture Americans, right? Just as human beings, we're all very inspired by stories, and you and I talked about how stories connect all of us. But
So
I also,
true.
yeah, I think it's so interesting. So they were very interested and they had a lot of questions, and you could tell they wanted
Hmm.
to learn more, and so that inspired you to start You Are for Africa. So how did you put that together? How give us a little more detail on that.
So yeah, so once the film projects were done, and once I was done with film school, it took me a little bit before I was in Nigeria consistently. I was working in New York soon after film school for a few years, but I was frequently traveling back and forth between New York and Nigeria. So we would try and do these little projects in between, when I would come through, once a year. But I guess after I was basically done with my work, in New York, I was working with a group of students and they were graduating, and, there were just so many things that lined up for me to just come back that I was like, okay, I'm going to do this full time. um, and I moved back and we started to kick off the projects. And it first started off with a group of these, a series of workshops, in various schools, teaching young people how to create content, but using not just film, but using art and design, and technology. So it kind of evolved into these various activities, which was amazing. So today, You Are for Africa is broken up into like two organizations. There's You Are for Africa that focuses primarily on creating positive content about Nigeria and Africa. And then there's Public Art Africa, which is a youth-led organization that focuses on teaching young people how to use creativity and storytelling to impact their communities. Um, so that's basically how everything kind of kicked off. So we started with school programs, school projects, and community projects, and evolved into all these various activities to kind of influence the community, influence and impact young people. So we're really excited about kicking off more of our content creation this year.
So when did you actually just kick this off? When did it launch?
So it launched last year. So our youth organization has been super successful. People have been really supportive of it, especially the Lagos State Ministry of Education. So they're the only reasons that we're allowed to go into the schools and recruit students and work with teachers and administrators to provide access to this program. So the separation between the youth organization and the content creation aspect of You Are for Africa started last year.
Would you say now I'm considering you an expert here in between these two
Ah,
countries.
expert.
Well, yeah, it comes from experience.
Yeah.
People think experts are all about, just getting behind a book or something, but it's not. It's
Hmm.
actually experience, you get that hands
Yeah.
on. So, um,
Hmm.
I'm just wondering, do you think the schools and the education system there compared to here is more accepting of combining art with technology than here?
Um, I think that in Nigeria, we're really focused on exams and tests. So the focus on art, it's almost like a new thing. There used to be really great art programs and art teachers in our public school system. But with the change of administration and the change of focus in education, less and less art and creative programs are provided to young people. So I think that that's why the Ministry of Education is so open to working with us, because we're providing access to programs that aren't necessarily in the schools anymore. And they have been super supportive, and they listen. You know what I mean? There's a lot of red tape. Like, there's a lot of letters you have to write and a lot of people you have to meet with and speak to, you know, especially because they're concerned about the safety of the students.
Right.
But for the most part, they're very, very encouraged, especially because the students create projects that they can share with their community. So whatever they make, they share with the schools. You know, they share with their churches and the mosque and with various community members, because we have these outreach days. So the students are always kind of engaging with the community on these projects.
Wow, this is very good. How does that do for, I mean, what are the age ranges?
Yeah, so the students range between the ages of 11 to 18. After they've graduated from secondary school, which is like high school, they become volunteers in our program. So then they always have a place to go to, especially it takes a while to get into university here. It's not like something that you just go into straight. You have to take exams. And so most students have like a year break in between high school and college. So they come and kind of gain experience with us. So they'll be prepared for the college transition.
Right. And now you were talking about earlier how the tech industry and the film industry is evolving there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something. So you're preparing them for that too. Like, are you encouraging any of them to just go into business or become self-employed, or how's that
Yeah,
work?
it's a big aspect of our program. Most of what we do is tell the students that they should plan to be very versatile people. That if they are going to university, especially because university is expensive, so some of them will go to vocational schools, that they should think about having something that they have on the side, especially while they're in school. So for some of our students, some of them have participated in a lot of photography workshops. So some of them have photography as like a skill that they can use. Some of them have been focusing on design. Some of them have that as a skill, you know, so we try to encourage the students to have something on the side that they're really passionate about. So even if they're doing some kind of work that they're using just to make an income, they have this side project that they can do that they're passionate about, and they always have that.
Okay, see, that works because
Yeah.
yeah, passion really creates well, it really drives people to succeed,
Right.
you know.
Exactly. It's so, so, so important. And I think that we lose sight of it here. You know what I mean? Especially because our biggest focus in Nigeria is making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what drives people, you know, and and what we teach our students is that if you're passionate enough, that will drive you, that will sustain you, you know, because it'll keep you going. It inspires you. You know what I mean? Unlike money, you know, money's inspiring for a short period of time, you know, it doesn't,
Right.
because it doesn't last, you know. But your passion, you know, your passion can take you so far. I mean, I'm a prime example of that. You know, there's times people are like, why are you still doing this? You should just give up on it. This is Nigeria. It can't work. And it ended up totally working. You know what I mean? And just imagine if I hadn't even tried, you know.
Oh,
But passion is
exactly.
what
And
drove me. Yeah.
yeah, the challenge, I mean, most people that are passionate really like the challenge of it. And it's funny because like when people start telling you to quit, you want to do it more.
Yeah. You know, when people say that you can't do it, it totally drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's like,
So,
oh,
I mean,
really?
I'm constantly fighting, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
constantly in this mode of like, I gotta fight, you know? Um,
Yeah.
cause, people want to make sure that you aren't able to do it. You know, people don't believe in it, you know, in the sense that they don't believe that you can take something that, inspires so many people and it can end up having longevity, you know, especially in Nigeria. I think because there's such a focus on money, you
Yeah,
know.
and I've said this to many friends so many times, you know, if you think happiness is about money, wait until you're in your deathbed and you're going, "Oh, I got a bank full of money."
You
As
know, but
you
like
know,
nothing else, you know, that I
right?
can't take with me.
Or are you going to be going, you know what? Look at all the people I touched. Look at all the things I got to
Right.
change. Look at what,
Yeah.
what I get to leave behind, which is not
Right.
a bank
Exactly.
full of money.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Wow, that's awesome. So,
Yeah.
your program now, so what are because this is an organization and you're the director, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm the co-founder of You Are for Africa. I direct. I'm the consistent person. You know what I mean, with the founders. You know, because the founders are basically all those people that we created the production with that first time that we came to Nigeria to work on those projects. And I'm the founder of Public Art Africa because that Public Art Africa is my baby. I love working with the kids. I love working with the volunteers and the mentors that come to work with the students. You know, it's an opportunity for people to inspire young people. And these people are really inspiring. You know what I mean? They come in at first with our trainings and they're like, oh, I've never worked with kids before. You know, I don't think I can do it. And then you just see how like this light switches on, and they start interacting and working together in groups.
It's
It's really,
like
really
it's like people who don't like babies or something are like, oh, all you have to do is wipe, change
right,
diapers and feed
exactly.
them and watch
And
them
you're,
cry. But then they smile at you one time, just one time,
and
and you're
now,
like,
yeah,
oh,
it's
that makes
over.
it all
It's
worth it.
over. Yeah, exactly.
That's
So,
so
so
cool.
yeah, it's really, really great. So, You Are for Africa is like a social enterprise, and Public Art Africa is a nonprofit.
So, because you reached out to me and we were talking
Hmm.
without naming anybody or anything, right? You had reached out to different people about because you, like you said, you're doing this film stuff, but you were working with the traditional cameras and all that, right?
Right, right, yeah, exactly. So
And then
we were working with digital cameras, yeah.
and then you heard about the smartphones and the mobile phones for making movies somewhere, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I stumbled upon it online. You know what I mean? I was like so psyched. So we reached out to a bunch of different companies and film spaces. You know what I mean? That like were kind of pioneering the mobile filmmaking industry, and we didn't hear back from many people. I think because of the location of where we are. People get wary when they get emails from Nigeria, especially because like 419 and like the scams about like the prince. It says that if you send this much money over, you'll be
Well, you're
helping
not you're
their.
not a chain letter.
Yes, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I was really excited when you got back to us. Just super excited, especially because like people are so afraid when they hear like, oh, hi, my name is Shola Ajayi. I run this, Pan-African organization in Nigeria. They're like, Nigeria? Ah, what? Oh my God,
That's horrible.
So it's so great to hear back from you.
Well, yeah, you're a human being who's like into mobile filmmaking. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting, especially because like people have two or three phones here. You know what I mean? And I think in Nigeria, we're still trying to figure out how powerful the tool of the phone is for us in this country. We're supposed to be facilitating a meetup at Social Media Week in Lagos. So a lot of these conversations about using your phone as a tool to make changes in your community it's gonna come up with some other individuals that are running their own companies. So yeah, the mobile film industry is super exciting, and we're so excited to be helping to push most Nigerians and Africans to be little indie filmmakers with their phone.
That's so cute. We have a
Yeah,
we have a friend, for years, um, and I'll have to connect you with him. Now he's in Cameroon, so I know there's like
yeah, which is not far from us.
it's not that far, is it?
Yeah, it's not that far. No, yeah, it's like right next door. So they're having some conflict, but we were supposed to partner with another group, and those folks that I told you about for our hip hop
Yeah.
project that we did with the students. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's good to connect people. It's good to connect with other people that are also interested in it. Because I just feel like if people like again, these are projects that people are passionate about, and
Yes.
the energy that brings with it is it can benefit as long as it doesn't get to be too much of a challenge to work
Mm.
together.
Right.
You never know, it might be a good connection. um
Absolutely.
yeah, and we were talking about our program with community stories where
Hmm.
you know you have to be a part of that community or culture in order to share that story. And that's just so ideal for what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's perfectly targets us actually. You know what I mean? Especially because we're so community focused. And because there's not a lot of platforms for people to share their stories here, like, even in the film industry here, our own film festivals in Nigeria are just kind of taking off. We just have a few, and Nollywood is there, you know what I mean? But Nollywood is still there with like their big budgets and so on and so forth. And most people can't put those budgets together. And I miss the old Nollywood when people would just grab like a little handy cam, you know what I mean, and their
Oh,
friends and like put films together. I think that we kind of missed the window with indie filmmaking there. But it's exciting to see what people are doing with Nigerian films these days, especially the production level has gone up like 100%. But what is challenging is the stories that are still being told, kind of like the same stories over and over again. We like to focus on romance. We like to focus on marriage, scamming of money, businesses and so on and so forth. And there's tons more stories in that that we're not really seeing yet. But it's a new year, and especially with like festivals like what you have in California, opportunities for people to share their stories through the community stories, aspect. That program would be a great platform for our folks here in Lagos and hopefully in Africa.
yeah. Well, we're really looking forward to working with you, and to seeing
Yeah,
these
same.
films and sharing them. The other aspect of that too is you were just talking about how people have this one mind about this one pointed view about what
Hmm.
life is there, what it's all about. And
Yeah.
this is a great platform to share and open up those minds a little better, and help us all understand that it's not just about this and that there, it's about so
Right.
much
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, exactly. Like Nigeria is basically like we're big fans of rice, jollof rice, fried rice. So Nigeria reminds me of like fried rice. You know what I mean? Because there are all these amazing things inside, you know what I'm saying? It's very, very colorful. But we're only seeing the rice part. We don't see the pepe, we don't see the green beans, we don't see all those things. So I would
It
like
just
people to
reminds
see
me of
every
when,
aspect.
yeah, I go with a friend to a Chinese food place, and it's like they always
Yeah.
want the white rice, and I'm like, I want the fried rice, so that's why I
Fried
keep
rice,
I keep
yes. You
giggling
know what I
over
mean?
that. Yeah.
Change it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really, really amazing. And I'm really excited for people because once this opportunity to like share their stories is made readily available to people, more people will be doing it. You know what I mean? And that's the part that's really exciting because I'm talking about the stories that I see. I'm just in Lagos. You know what I mean? We haven't even talked about like people that live in like the northern aspect, like the northern region of Nigeria or the eastern regions. Like there's tons of stories there. And the stories are very positive, and some are very sad, but they still need to be told because people are not hearing them. So this is a great opportunity for people to just grab their phones and start putting stuff together. And we teach classes, we offer workshops and stuff like that if people have questions about how to go about doing that. Um,
Well, yeah,
so yeah,
I wanted you
it's on.
guys to put together like a promo or something, just
Yeah,
something.
our next workshop.
Yeah,
Yes. I just talked to the
because
facilitators about it yesterday.
Oh, awesome. Facilitating
Yeah,
it.
so they're excited. Yeah. We collaborate a lot. So we look for people that are talented screenwriters and people that have um, experience doing animation, you know what I mean, to teach these workshops so that people can get started, you know what I mean? Because I think the issue too is that people don't know how to start, and they need to be encouraged and they need to be pushed a little bit to be like, look, you can do this. You have two hands,
Yeah.
you have a phone. The phone has a camera, you know, get
That
a memory card,
that's where I come in because I'm like, just do it, just do it, just do it. I'm the one that's trying to motivate everybody to do this because
Yeah,
I know for a fact that once they do it, they inspire themselves, and
right, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. It's so awesome. Such an awesome feeling. It's an awesome thing to see. And thank you so much for creating this opportunity, you know what I mean, and this platform for people to share their stories. It's really, really, really amazing. Not that many people are doing it, and not that many people are open to having people from all over be part of it, especially people from my community. Um, so thank you,
Well,
Susan.
yeah, that was, well, thank you. I mean, the when I first, when I first started the community stories program for the film festival, I did make a big deal out of it because
Hmm.
I could see where this could get to be like just all about cinema,
Hmm.
filmmaking,
Yeah,
Hollywood kind of a
totally.
goal. But I wanted it
Mhm.
to have this other arm, you know, I wanted it to have that part of it where, in the first place, we created not, and I say we, I mean the pioneers of this industry,
Right,
not just my film festival, but the others that started around the same time. We wanted to create this platform for people who didn't have the opportunity. And if you think about it, the people who don't have the opportunity have, they're all over the world. And they are
right.
people who don't have access, to budgets and big cameras and even schools,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
And
true.
so yeah, so when I created community stories, I was like, man, I mean, I literally pictured, little old man on top of a mountain somewhere in Afghanistan or something going, okay, I'm going to send my little community story, which will have a big impact, which I created with this little phone, and I'm going to send
Right,
it all the way down across the earth to San Diego, and they're going to present it there on a big screen, and they're going to, a lot of people are going to see this, and then it's just going to go because the publicity from that is just going to make it go all over the world, and everyone's going to hear this story. And
exactly. And
yeah,
it's beautiful.
and I started thinking about that back in 2009, which was it exactly about the same time right after I decided to launch this. So yeah. And I'm like, I feel out of breath because it's like a big deal. That's a really important part of mobile filmmaking is sharing the stories from people all over the world, not just, the cinematic part of it, although that's pretty amazing too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially because people are very resourceful and very creative here. You know what I mean? So people may not even know that they could come up with a new way to shoot on the mobile phone. You know what I mean? I saw someone do something really amazing on YouTube where they turned their lens to a macro lens by adding water to the lens. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? It was really, really interesting. So I think that we are very innovative in Nigeria, especially because of challenges like power and things like that. So if we put our minds to it, we come up with some pretty awesome stuff. It's just a matter of actually putting our minds to it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And actually taking the action.
Because if there's a
So
will,
it's
there's a way, right?
exactly, you know what I mean, the driving force. Especially once you're excited about something, you'll try everything.
Oh, I get told. I'm actually just picturing that, almost like kids in a playground, just getting together and going, "We're gonna make this happen somehow," and then they pull
Exactly.
away, and there's this like, "Whoa, what did you guys just invent?"
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Like how, what, when, you know,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens, and it needs to happen more. I think the whole nation would be so inspired by it if we just gave people the space to create more. But so a lot of things distract us. The stress of the disparity between the rich and poor stresses us. Our political situation stresses us. So it's hard to create those spaces, for people to create because they believe that they should be focusing things on like working more, making more money, making sure their child gets into a good secondary school so they can go to a good college, things like that, But those creative spaces need to be supported and
I,
opened up more
I'm
so
gonna
that
tell
people
you
can.
why. Because the more suffrage basically and stress that there is in a community,
Mm,
the more that they need something to bring everybody together. And
together. Yeah,
I believe that art and storytelling, the creativity that goes into that and that energy that comes from that, that's what brings people together. and
yeah,
and then everything
absolutely.
else works better because then people
Mm-hmm.
collaborate and they can make that money. They can collaborate together because making a lot of money even for one company, you can't do it with just one person. You always
Yeah,
need.
exactly. Collaboration is a huge part of it,
Yeah. And
but people are also very competitive,
right.
But if people were more open to collaborating, we'd probably get a lot more done.
Yeah, well, they'll have to come together to realize that you can actually collaborate. It's more like, oh, now we're doing this with friends instead of, just competing. We're all friends.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope everything works out really good on that aspect. Tell us, so I wanted to read something really quick from your website
Okay.
that it says on there. Now let me find it because okay, here it is. It says You Are for Africa is a pan-African media company focusing on teaching, producing, and distributing positive American content that is unique.
Positive
Uh,
African content.
yeah. African content, that's right. Well, I don't know why I left that out. um, but because we're friends now, so it's like
Hmm.
whatever. um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know
but
what you meant.
yeah. So what can you expand on that a little more? Like maybe we talked about the history of it and where you are right now,
Hmm.
but where you want to really bring it to within this year.
Yeah. So, the Pan African aspect is making sure that we're collaborating with people from like across the diaspora within Africa and like places like South America, Europe. You know what I mean? So that people have the sense that they have a space to go to create. A lot of things is that with Nigerians and African people, we're very kind of separated. So the idea is that this is an opportunity for all of us to create and kind of support each other and telling each other's story. So that's a big aspect of it. It's an important aspect. We went to Ghana a few years ago to work on a project with this group called Nima Muhamanti Arts. They're a group of graffiti artists that work in various communities throughout Nima, Ghana. And it was an awesome opportunity for us to collaborate as Africans, on this project, and totally inspiring for our students because our students were able to travel with us to see Ghana, a country they'd never been to. And the Ghanaian facilitators and organizers of that organization actually ended up coming to Nigeria. So it was an opportunity for us to exchange, to teach each other about each other's cultures and things like that. So the media aspect is that we are a media company for the community, basically. So our real focus is to make sure that the community has their stories and that we support them in telling them. And the teaching aspect is to make sure that people get the tools, and the resources they need. the producing aspect is that we produce our own content. You know what I mean? There's a web series there that we worked on, and then others like podcasts and things like that we've been producing, and hopefully getting them up on the website hopefully this year. And then the distribution is just getting it out to our partners, like in areas like New York or even our friends in Ghana, so that people can see the projects and, you know, screen them and share them and have conversations around them. So that's the main thing about that mission statement.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, like you've covered everything there. I mean, there's really nothing left. um, well, so one of the things I wanted to bring up too, because I was watching some of the videos on your website,
Mm-hmm.
and I really liked the music.
So we do have a lot of local musicians in Nigeria, you know, and with our recent music project that we did in October through December last year, we really had an opportunity to work with a lot of them. A lot of our music comes from royalty-free type music that's online, but we are actually looking for a certain sound. So I think it's Music Archive is one of these online websites that focuses a lot on sharing music by African people. And that's where a lot of our music comes from, especially because like there's a certain genre of music that's very popular in Nigeria right now, which is just like this kind of like, I forget what they call it. Of course, I forget right now what it's called.
That's okay.
But it's very much like a dance type music, and we like exploring music that has a little bit of a different sound. So some of our music that we use in our projects is West African, but some of them will be from like places like Ethiopia or South Africa. Like we're influenced heavily by South African music, and then a lot of the old music, you know, like the old school Sunny Ade, you know, or Shino Pitas, which are very you know, popular musicians from my parents' era, you know, my parents' time. Right. So yeah, that's where a lot of our music comes from.
Are you looking to produce your own music or?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like I'm excited to produce all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? I think that what's really great about creating is that it's a lot about mostly about collaboration, and we love collaborating with like musicians. We love collaborating with filmmakers and writers, you know, and actors. You know what I mean? It's like it's such an amazing experience to like start a project and see it from the beginning to the end with all these amazing people that probably wouldn't have worked on a project together because they didn't know anything about each other before until this project kicked off. So yeah, the music aspect is, and really like focusing on music that is kind of new coming out of Nigeria. You know, I want to meet the Nigerian rock stars, you know what I mean? Or the punk artists, you know what I'm saying? Because I know that they exist. I know they're somewhere because they've been inspired by it somewhere, you know? So yeah, those are the musicians that we're looking at targeting.
Yeah, that's the really cool thing about film is that it brings so much of this together. Like, for example, you know, we were talking about designers. It's like, oh, well, who doesn't need, you know, the people for creating props and building sets and the wardrobe people and all that stuff. And then you get the people who are, you know, just thinking about music, and maybe they're not interested in film, but that's a part of film too. And
right, exactly. You know what I mean? And coming to a realization of all that, like how it all comes together, you know, it's really exciting for it to click for people.
Yeah, it really does bring people together. It's one of the things that I love about, and I keep telling that to teachers and stuff, especially with the younger kids, is like, if you really want to teach students to collaborate and work together for something, because I mean, the experience, like, remember when you were in school and they'd give you a project and they'd say, okay, here's a group, you all come up with you know, you all have to write well, not really fun, like an essay, right? And it's like, you all write this essay and then you all present it to the class, and 5 people are standing in front of everybody going, you know, it was really all just me. These people didn't do anything, right?
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
And you don't,
but that can't happen in film. You know what I mean? Everyone has to do something. That's what's so great about it. You know, is that there's a screenwriter and there's a director and there's a videographer. You know what I mean? There's someone focusing on the set. There's actors. You know what I mean? There's all these amazing aspects to like a production. And that's probably one of the best ways to get young people to collaborate, is to help tell them to make a video about something together. Especially kids that have never met or ever had a desire to even work on something together. It's really amazing to watch how people open up to each other when they have to work on a project together that way, you know?
I love what you're saying, because I'm walking around preaching this, and I don't know how well people are understanding. I mean, it will even help with bullies,
Yeah,
because
totally.
I mean, people are, it's fear. It's that
Hmm.
fear from, oh, you're different, or you're not like
Right.
everybody else, or you're not like me, or whatever that keeps,
Yeah.
keeps that going. But if
Hmm.
they're, I mean, yeah, collaboration is a big deal in film, because if you
Such a
don't
big
have
deal.
the actors, right, if they don't collaborate, then you don't have the characters in your story, you know?
Exactly.
So
Exactly. You know what I
it
mean?
it all shows, when people are
Hmm.
working together. You can't get around it. And
Hmm. And problems always pop up in production, right? So this is an opportunity for people to have to figure out ways to problem solve, you know what I mean, and work together to figure out how to make this still happen, despite certain challenges. Let's say an actor comes late, or their light blows, or there's no mics. You know what I mean? What can we do to make sure that we're still able to do something? And it's really amazing to see what people come up with when you put all of your heads together, and try to come up with a solution. It's amazing to watch.
yeah, I've worked, as a matter of fact, one of these companies that I was working for, we were we were laughing one day, and we're going, do you realize that we spend 80% of our time troubleshooting? This is in video, right? Right. We spend so much time troubleshooting. And that's really interesting what you just said, because it's like,
Hmm.
nothing, I mean, that in order to succeed in a project, if you don't learn how to troubleshoot and be creative and figure out how to make it, then you miss the deadline, for
Exactly,
that.
exactly.
That's really important.
So
Wow.
true. Hmm.
Amazing. So you made that one movie. By the way, I'm just curious if you don't mind sharing with our listeners
Hmm.
and everything. Uh how did that turn out? Your thesis project.
Yeah, the project turned out well. Yeah, it was one of those projects that happened really fast. So there was a Champion was a project that all the students and community members were involved in. That was the name of the film.
Hmm.
And then there was History of the Weave, which is basically a documentary or an experimental documentary about hair, and how hair kind of tells the story of African people,
Oh.
and the kind of like across the slave trade and like civil rights movement, and then coming back to Africa, and how it kind of works into our culture here in Nigeria. Champion was huge because the students got to see themselves on television, because the television station AIT aired the film for them several times, so that they can see it and their friends can see it and their family can see it. So the projects came out really well. I think there's clips of Champion online, and also clips of History of the Weave online,
You'll have to
for
give us
people
the
to
links
see.
if you want our
Yeah, I'll share
listeners.
them with
So
you.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
and definitely, you'll have to send me some photos and some links, and things that we've
Yeah.
talked about. Um,
Hmm.
and so the other thing that I wanted to do is, I wanted to play a game.
Okay. All right.
And I've been, as I've been listening to you, somehow I'm trying to, focus on a topic for this game. So I'll tell you what the game is. So we call it the shout out game.
Okay.
And it's basically,
Shout out. Okay.
yeah, like giving out shout outs. But instead of just doing it for, like, oh, I'd like to thank my mom and my dad and my this and my that, um, I was going to do it with something different with you, where I wanted to, you were naming all these people, right, that kind of came
Hmm.
together for you. And I think maybe as a thank you, they might, of course you can't name everybody, because I'm putting you on the spot and you've only got 20 seconds.
Oh, wow.
So some people are going to get left out, but they can't get mad at you. You tell them to get mad at me because I'm the one who made the game, okay? um, so I'm thinking that maybe we could do this game where you have 20 seconds to give a shout out to the people who came together, maybe your founders. Maybe they might want to hear their name. What do you think?
Yep. Sounds good. I'm
you're
trying to
like
think of everyone.
you're like I
I
don't
know
know
they're
what
going to
you
be mad
just
at
said
me.
now. Well, it's okay. I mean, that's part of the fun of it. And,
Yeah.
like I said, no one can get mad because, you've only got 20 seconds and it's not like you were able to write a list or something either. So, um, okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Ready or not, here I come.
Here we
Um,
go. Yeah.
all right. And go.
Joker, Rachel, Femi, Javal, Stender, the trustees, people that donated, ICS Studios, AIT, the community members in Lagos, obviously my family.
You know, it seems like you practically named everybody. I mean, you even got to name your family.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't get to say their full names, but
I know, but
hopefully they know who I'm talking about.
I'm sure they know who they
Um,
are.
yeah, yeah. There's still tons of people I didn't get.
Of
It
course
was such
not.
big production, you know.
Yeah, I could only.
I
How
didn't think
many
the
people,
kids, you know.
right? Well, how many people were there? Do you think were like 50, 100? I mean,
Yeah, I
30?
think it was 50 plus.
Wow.
Especially because we use a lot of extras, you know what I mean? So people walking by wanted to be in it, people selling fish wanted to be in it. So people that just saw these people setting up cameras, and of course, like there's interest because the Americans that came, you don't always see a lot of Caucasian people walking around my neighborhood. So people are like, what's going on over here, you know? And people, once they heard about the project, they just wanted to be part of it. And of course, kids, they see the cameras, they're like, who's here, what's happening in our neighborhood, really, blah blah, you know. And it was a big production, almost to the point of being overwhelming, but we got through it. You know, because
Wow.
we're kids, you know, making these films, you know.
That's
And we
so
want to do a good
amazing.
job.
Yeah, you do. I mean, that's the whole point
Yeah.
because it shows, otherwise.
Hmm.
That was my thing too
Right.
about like just give it a go. And the more you give it a go,
Yeah.
the more you want to make it better the next time. So it's almost like you start a cycle just by getting started.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
So
well,
just need.
you're gonna hopefully we'll get that video from you. We'll be able to present it during our film festival for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
That
like
would be great.
super excited to work with you and
Yeah.
help promote the work of the students and in obviously that you're guiding that work.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm so excited
there's
about working with you too.
yeah, I mean it's like it's pretty amazing. You know what I mean? For me, I mean, we get people from all over the world here living in San
Hmm.
Diego, right? But
Yeah.
to reach out and connect with someone, in a different country, so far
Right.
away. I mean, whether it's Australia or Africa or India or any of that. I mean, for me, it's really really awesome because I grew up. My father was in the military, and my mom is from Spain, so I grew up traveling a lot. But where I really was raised was in Spain, with my mom and her family.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and the one thing because they loved traveling, and we did that too. We would go to Spain to visit, my family in Spain for the summers, growing up. So I could totally connect with what you were saying on how you just decided to go there and live there for a year or whatever,
Hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
but a lot of people can't connect with that, here in this country. I mean, some people have never even left their own town, or
Right. Exactly. That
explored.
would be super, super intimidating to them to even think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, and that's why I think, but no one's really afraid of going online and looking at videos and the
Hmm.
entertainment part of film, which is, storytelling. And no one's really afraid of doing that. So I really feel like there is a really big opportunity here for all of us to share our stories with each other. I'm sure there are people there who wouldn't think that there are poor people in California, or that,
Right. Exactly.
things like that, that these stories on both ways, it's reciprocal kind of,
Hmm.
um
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, so I just think it'll make us all in a whole better people. And I know I sound really corny sometimes when I start talking about
Ah,
this, but
no, you don't.
if I didn't feel
You
this
sound
way,
passionate,
I
you
am.
know?
Yeah,
That's what's so great about it, you know?
yeah, but I know, but it's like if I didn't feel so passionate and feel this whatever corniness about it, I wouldn't have done this. It wouldn't have gotten even this
Right.
far, So
Yeah, I mean, you're a testament in itself, you know what I mean? Like you thought of something and you pursued it, you know, and that's totally inspiring, you know?
yeah, and I've been doing this for since 2009. I was kind of thinking the other day, going, you know, we're in 2018.
Right? Exactly.
That's a long
It's great.
time.
Time is crazy. Time is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the moments and the people I've connected to more than the time itself. You know what I'm saying? That's
Right.
that's what keeps me going.
Going.
And yeah, that's my oxygen. So,
Oh, I love that.
uh, well, I'm going to let you go because I know you said you've got some traveling to do today or something. I can't remember what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be on the road.
Nice. And it's really hot over there. You were telling me earlier too. So,
Yes, yes, yes. They're warning people that they should drink water. Don't go out in between the hours of two, or I think 12 and 2. You
yeah.
know, when it's the hottest. You know, yeah, it's extremely hot. Mother Nature is hitting us with the force.
Well,
Seriously.
yeah. And there's
Um,
people over here and like you were in New York.
yes, exactly. Yeah, and it was brutally cold.
Yeah, well,
um,
my mother would say that's how you catch a pneumonia, going from one extreme
I
to the
know.
other.
Another extreme, right?
Yeah.
You know,
So let
I
me
like to live
ask
on the
you, let me
edge.
ask you to do one more thing because
Sure.
I asked you a lot of questions and you were answering a lot of my questions, but was there
Hmm.
anything that you want to say that I didn't ask you about that you want to say?
Wow. No, like I feel like you asked a lot of really great questions. And there's nothing I can think of right now.
Well,
But
oh, you were going to say something.
oh, I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for the opportunity and for having me, you know.
well, you're
Um,
welcome, but
Great
let me turn
opportunity.
that a little bit into something like how can people who really, after hearing this podcast, right, that are going,
Yeah.
you know what, that's amazing, and I don't want to, like, what is your call of action for someone who wants to support you and what you're doing and all those kids?
Yeah, I mean, especially for the kids, you know, if anyone wants to donate supplies, we have like a PO box in the States, in New York. That's always a big help. And yeah, if anyone wants to, you know, support some of the productions and things like that, they can email us, you know. But most of the support we need are in the way of like donations, and it doesn't have to be money. You know what I mean? Like people that want to come out and teach. We're always open to people coming out. People that are interested in doing. We have these like digital classrooms. So and what they are basically people teaching online, you know, just exchanging and kind of talking about like what's happening in their side of the world, and you know, allowing our kids and our community members to ask questions. And if anyone wants to invest in UR for Africa, that would be great too. We're always looking for investors too. So there's tons of ways people can support us. And even if they want to just collaborate too, if they have a story that they want to work on and things like that, we're open to collaborating with them.
Well, we're going to put some notes on this podcast, and then I'm going to write, once you send me photos and everything, I'm going to write a little article about it on the blog for the podcast too, and then I'll start sharing that.
Thank you.
But why don't you, for people who just are not going to read anything, they're just not. For all of them, why don't you give them the website and an email address?
Okay, great. So there's two websites. You can go to www.africa.com. And that's where you can see a lot of our videos and content. You can reach out to us there. And then for the youth program, you can go to www.publicartafrica.org. And you can see a lot of what our students have been doing there. And our email address is team, as in like basketball team, at the letter U, the letter R, the number 4, Africa.com. And you can just send us a little message. Heard us through Susan's podcast in the subject, because a lot of our email gets kind of flooded, So please, be specific about the podcast. That would be great.
Okay, good. Very, very good. And now you're on social media too. Why don't you let's go ahead and give those out too while you're on a roll.
So we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we're on Instagram. All of the platforms are either UR for Africa or Public Art Africa. And that's probably the best way to see what we're doing. That's where we're most active, is on social media. So the websites just kind of give you a sense of who we are, but the social media gives you a sense of what we're doing.
I'm already following you on Instagram, just so you know.
Yay!
Yeah, your Instagrams, you have some pretty cool inspirational quotes on there too.
Yeah. So a lot of the focus is showing people that there are people kind of creating content that is more like very positive, that we don't see a lot of. So that's kind of like what we try to influx into social media, through the social media, showing people that. And then for Public Art Africa, just showing them what kids or young people are doing, what they're capable of doing. So
well, that's awesome. I'm just a nobody here, but I want to thank you for doing what you're doing, because it's amazing. And if you hadn't been doing that, I don't know how we could have met,
Met, exactly. Exactly.
So I'm stoked about it.
The world is amazing. Yeah, me too. I'm really excited.
What did you say was amazing? Sorry.
Yeah, I said the world is amazing. Just like how crazy, like this project kind of created a avenue for me to reach out to you, and
you just got started. You just got started.
Yeah,
look at all that. I mean, imagine if you've, all the stuff you've touched on already, all these moments and all these people, all these connections. Just wait till 5 more years, like what's going to happen then.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, I can see it happening for sure. And the other part is, how many of these kids in 5 years where they're going to be, and the impact.
I know.
The impact.
I'm so excited to see where they end up. Really, really excited. I'm excited for them, especially because a lot of them already have this like collaborative mindset. They have this networking mindset, entrepreneur mindset. So that's really exciting. So I'm excited to see where they're going to end up, what they're going to be doing next.
Well, I could tell you where they're probably going to end up next year. The red carpet in San Diego.
Yeah, that would be awesome. They would love that. They would love that.
I would love it too. So bring it on, guys. I'm speaking directly to them. Make a movie, and we'll see you here. You have my personal invitation to submit your films and get on my red carpet. my red carpet. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Yeah, I know.
So, all right. Well, awesome. Hey, enjoy your road trip. Don't melt.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you for your time and have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much, Susan. You too. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, and thank you to our listeners for listening.
Yes. Thank you, listeners.
All right. Good night or good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, good morning.